Yes, I definitely did start with the name for this drink and then designed it from there. And by designed, I mean just made a grasshopper, because honestly, it's just a grasshopper. However, grasshoppers are typically made with a white creme de cacao, which is clear, which makes for a much more pleasant green color, and my recipe uses dark creme de cacao, which is brown, which definitely looks less appetizing, but it's a pretty good color match for the Hawk figure. To make this one, or really any basic grasshopper, in a shaker with ice, combine 1.5 ounces of a green creme de menthe, 1.5 ounces of creme de cacao, and 1.5 ounces of heavy cream. Give it a hearty shake to mix and chill, pour it into your glass, and enjoy. Cheers! Remember the show Superhuman Samurai Syber Squad? Honestly, I don't remember much from it, but I do remember picking up a bunch of its figures from KB Toys way back when, and then I lost all of them. So in my desire to reclaim my childhood, I may have gone a little overboard. The first one I ever got was C-HOCK, and you might go, hey, aren't they all C-HOCK? Yes and no, we'll come back to that. Made by Playmates, this guy was sold on a carded blister with some weapons. I found this guy on eBay for like 10 bucks, definitely cheaper without the accessories, and even cheaper if the condition isn't top notch. The paint wear on this guy would normally bug me if it wasn't so nostalgic, and I'm sure the one I had as a kid was even worse. Standing 4 inches tall at the tip of his horn, this guy features 5 points of articulation. Both arms have some squeaky limited movement. Both squeaky legs could do a full 360 if the arms weren't in the way, but the tail has that full range. Despite the head being a separate piece, there's no articulation at the neck. Now this guy appears to me to be a modified version of the original Bagira mold from a few years prior. Hopefully I'm not alone in that I was a full adult when I learned that Superhuman Samurai Syber Squad was originally the Japanese show Gridman, just like how Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger got turned into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for US audiences. The kaiju I came to know as Hawk was originally called Bagira in the Japanese show, but if you Google that name, even with the difference in spelling, you'll probably end up with tons of images of panthers. Produced by Takara, this guy is cast in your classic hollow vinyl and has a few notable differences from the Playmates version. First and foremost is the color. This guy is almost entirely brown, with some silver highlights on the face and blades, and this rusty pink spray down the back. Instead of being carded with accessories, this guy was loose with an attached tag with a photo showing how inaccurately colored this figure really is. Additionally, this guy stands at just over 4.5 inches at the tip of his horn, and finally, this guy is literally sharper than the Playmates. I assume Playmates made all the spiky bits significantly more blunt due to safety regulations, but other than that, this guy, to me, is proportionately identical to the Playmates. The articulation remains the same, rotation in both arms, both legs, and the tail. However, the tail joint is closer to the body than the Playmates one. I'm not sure why they changed that. If you look closely at the Playmates, you can even see the line where the tail joint once was. I picked this guy up on Mandarake for 1,500 yen, and you know what? I like the Playmates version better, which is entirely due to the paint job. Ironically, this one has even less paint than the mega miniature Hawk from Playmates. Cast in a solid rubber, what this guy lacks in articulation, it makes up for in paint. But the more I look at this guy, the more I see how the sculpt really doesn't match the actual character. I mean, it's a fun little representation to have on the shelf, but the head, the tail spike, the pinecone nature of his back plates, the way the blades go all the way up the arms, I'm not sure how the sculpt got so off. I'm assuming this was a Playmates original sculpt, but if you can find a Japanese version of this, let me know. Now, even at less than 2 inches tall, it's not the smallest. On my hunt, I came across this little metallic rubber mini Bagira. Made by Kabaya, I think he's got some pretty good detail for being just under 1.5 inches tall. The head seems extra long on this guy, but it looks way more screen accurate than the mini Playmates. I don't know much about the set this guy's from, but I do know that there are others in the series, and when googling Gridman Keshi, I saw that there are gold and blue versions of this guy. Now I'm debating whether or not to track the other colors down or to paint this guy up. Finally, the last Bagira that I'm aware of is also by Kabaya, this time a boxed candy toy. Just like the larger Takara figure, this is cast in a hollow vinyl and also cost me 1,500 yen. The gaps between the joints bug me, especially on the tail, but it is the most screen accurate of the bunch, both in terms of sculpt and paint. Along with the classic silver on the blades, it's cast in a darker tan vinyl with off-white spray on the belly and charcoal spray down the back. Yes, the tail is like half the length that it should be, but it's the only one of the bunch to feature articulation at the neck. And also, yeah, in my hunt I did wind up with a bunch of Troids, or Steelgon, but that's another video. Eventually? Maybe? In the meantime, are there any hocks or Bagiras that I missed? So if you know of any, or if you noticed any misinformation in this video, please let me know. In the meantime, good luck on your own figure hunt. Thanks for watching and liking and subscribing and all those things you do, and remember to always drink responsibly.